Do you wonder if your child is saying the right sounds for their age? Do you find it hard to figure out what they're saying and wonder how to help them say it more clearly? If so, this is the video for you. My name is Bryony Rust and I'm a speech and language therapist, and in this video I'm going to share with you some suggestions to help your child's speech clarity that go beyond the usual top tips. You will probably have heard some standard advice to help your child's speech development, like avoid correcting their mistakes and instead model back what they say so that they can hear it clearly, and reduce background noise so that they have a better opportunity to hear what you're saying. And all of this is great advice. Absolutely, do those things. But you might think, I'm already doing those things. What can I do next? So if that's you, then keep watching, because I've got 5 questions that you can ask yourself to help you better understand what to expect and how to help. Question number 1, what sounds are they making? When you carefully listen to the different sounds that your child is making, then you might start to notice some patterns in what sounds they're saying and what sounds are still difficult for them. Also, this might reassure you about typical speech development and whether your child is making the right sounds for their age. All children take a bit of time to develop their speech sounds, so it's really typical to have errors along the way. And when you pause to take note of the sounds that they're finding difficult, you have a better idea of where to help them. Typically, children's speech development starts with simple, bouncy sounds like b, d, g. Later on, children start to develop the long, stretchy sounds like f, s, sh. You can probably feel in your mouth how these are a bit harder to say, so it's no wonder that these tend to be the ones children learn a bit later. Even once children go into school, it's not uncommon to still struggle with some sounds like ch and j and r. And also consonant clusters are a consideration. These ones are really hard. So this is when you have more than one consonant squished together, like in the word breakfast. Breakfast might seem like a simple one, but actually there's a lot of complex sound blends and later developing sounds in this. If you notice a particular sound that your child is struggling with, then you might spot opportunities to model this. Which brings me to my next question. How can I find opportunities to model this sound as much as possible? So this is about being proactive, about creating and finding opportunities to model a difficult sound for your child to hear it as many times as possible. So, for example, if the difficult sound is d, then you might play around with drawing dots on a page, and instead of saying we're drawing dots or dot dot dot, you might just say d, 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 d. If the difficult sound is g, then when you unplug the bath, you might talk about how the water is going down the plug hole and saying g, g, g. If the difficult sound is s, then you might talk about the sand going through the sand timer. You get the idea. It might feel a bit silly and contrived, but your child is going to love the fact that you are giving them that sound, and it might even feel like a relief for them to be able to hear that one sound that they're struggling with and to be able to watch how you say it. Which brings me to the next question. Is your child looking at you? It is much easier for children to learn how to make a sound with their mouth if they can watch how you're making that sound with your mouth. So we've touched on the order that children typically develop their sounds and how you can identify sounds that are difficult for your child and then model these to them, and how helpful it is if you're face to face so they can see what you're doing with your mouth. But what if there's a particular word that your child is struggling with and you really want to help them with that? Well, this brings me to the next question. How can I break down this word to make it easier for my child? Even if your child can't say a word yet, it's really useful to be able to explore the structure of a word. And in fact, this is something that they will be exploring a lot when they start school. So things like what words rhyme and the syllables within words are a really useful first starting point for later reading and writing. You can play around with words in this way with your child. You might clap out the syllables in a word, like elephant. You might riff on a rhyme. So if you're playing with the farm set and you've got the cow, you might say, how now, brown cow? Huh, that rhymes. How, cow, now, all those words rhyme. What about when you're putting on your shoes? Shoe, loo, poo, too. Okay. Maybe not that one, that's going to be too hilarious, you'll never get out the door. If you're helping your child to get better at a particular word or sound, make sure you share this with all the other people that your child comes into contact with. Granny, the childminder, the TA. because then everyone around your child can focus on modelling those sounds and really focusing on those words. Really, you can't underestimate the value in modelling. It might feel like you're banging your head against a wall, you're doing it so much, but it's so valuable for your child to hear these words lots of times. So playing with sounds, playing with the words, thinking about rhyme and syllable, all of these are an excuse for you to model. Also, focusing on modelling can help you address that tricky point when your child is still getting a word wrong and you don't know quite how to respond. So you might say, oh yeah, giraffe. Oh, that's a difficult word. That's got that j sound in. Giraffe, j. That's a tough one for you at the moment, but we're all learning together, and as you get older, you're going to get better at your sounds. Finally, I have one crucial and maybe controversial question to ask yourself. Is this really what I should be focusing on? If your child is very young, then they're likely still working hard to develop the early foundation skills of communication. So before we worry about speech clarity, we're focusing on whether they can listen to what you say and pay attention, whether they can understand what you say, and whether they can use simple words and phrases themselves. All of this comes before we are really carefully thinking about articulation and speech clarity. Remember, some of those sounds don't come into play until school age, so think about what you want to focus on in the early years. Yes, it's important for children to have some sounds and for you to be aware of what sounds they're able to make and whether that's kind of typical for their age. But if your child isn't talking very much, then you want to focus still on helping them to understand words and have a go at words, even if they're not said very clearly for now. And just give it time. Every child develops in their own unique way and in their own time and pace. And if you are with your child, attending and listening and engaging with them in play and playing with sounds, then the two of you will get there together. If you want to ask more questions about speech development and think about where your child's at, you can pop a question in the comments below, or you can join my Facebook group, SALT Support. And if you'd like to see more videos on helping your child's speech and language development, then hit the subscribe button and keep watching.